Nvidia and the AI bubble. Do these numbers even make sense? Shock and curiosity. Can you believe that one company is now worth more than the entire German economy? Nvidia's market value recently crossed around $5 trillion, while Germany's total GDP last year was about 4.7 to 5.0 trillion, according to the World Bank. So before you throw your savings into the next AI revolution, let's take a serious look at what's really going on and ask, do these numbers even make sense?
The hype behind the number. AI is everywhere. Chatbots, driverless cars, robot workers. And Nvidia makes the chips that power nearly all of it. Investors see it as the new gold rush of our time. But before we start dreaming of overnight riches, let's ground ourselves in the numbers and see whether this hype can stand on its own. Because when stories sound too good to fail, the math often tells a very different story. Valuation reality check.
Let's start with the basics. In its latest quarter, ended July 2025, Nvidia reported about $46.7 billion in revenue. Multiply that by 4 and you get a rough annualized number of 185 to 190 billion dollars. So if Nvidia earns roughly 185 billion dollars per year and the market values it at around 5 trillion dollars, you're paying 25 to 30 times sales, or about 25 to 30 dollars for every dollar the company earns today. For comparison, Apple, AAPL, has a PS of about 8.6 times. Microsoft, MSFT, has a PS of about 13.8 times. You're paying roughly 3 times what Apple investors pay and twice what Microsoft investors pay for every dollar of sales. That might make sense if growth keeps exploding, but the higher the price, the less room there is for error. And that brings us to the next question. What if that perfect growth engine starts to slow, even a little?
How fragile the demand story is. Right now, Nvidia's success depends on a few very large buyers. 4 unnamed customers made up about 46% of its revenue in one quarter. Analysts believe these are the hyperscalers Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Alphabet, and Meta. Here's how that creates risk. These tech giants often place huge chip orders months in advance, sometimes with deposits. But if their AI infrastructure projects slow down, or they delay a data center build, they simply postpone the next shipment. For Nvidia, that means revenue shifts not canceled, but delayed. And for a stock priced like everything's moving full speed, delayed revenue can look like bad news. That's what makes timing and dependency such dangerous partners. And timing matters even more when your supply chain is stretched across half the world, from Silicon Valley to Taiwan to China. Policy and supply chain risk. Here's where geopolitics and supply chains collide with business reality. 1. China exposure and export controls. China used to account for about 13% of Nvidia's revenue, about US $17 billion. With Washington restricting sales of advanced AI chips, analysts estimate Nvidia could lose as much as $8 billion in a single quarter. Meanwhile, China is doubling down on domestic chip research to replace US suppliers, meaning the market might not just shrink, it might disappear. 2. Dependence on TSMC and Taiwan. Every one of Nvidia's high-end AI GPUs, the Hopper, Blackwell, and Rubin series, is fabricated by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, on its cutting-edge 4nm and 5nm nodes. Estimates suggest Nvidia already makes up 5 to 10% of TSMC's revenue, heading toward approximately 20% as AI demand surges. TSMC doesn't just produce the chips, it also handles the advanced packaging and testing that very few other firms in the world can do.
Translation: if TSMC catches a cold, Nvidia sneezes. Any disruption, supply shortage, natural disaster, or political conflict could instantly slow production. When you're paying 30 times sales, you need that supply chain to be flawless. It rarely is, and that's where the timing of those sales becomes critical. Because even if demand stays strong, delays anywhere along this chain can shake investor confidence.
Timing and ramp risk.
AI servers aren't consumer gadgets. They're big systems that take months to assemble. Nvidia first designs the chip, then TSMC fabricates it, then it goes through advanced packaging, logistics, shipping, and final installation in data centers worldwide. If any one link in that chain slows, a packaging bottleneck, a substrate shortage, a delayed data center, revenue recognition shifts to the next quarter. That's why investors watch Nvidia's delivery timelines so closely. A short-term delay can make a great quarter look merely good. And for a company priced like a rocket, good can disappoint. Timing doesn't just affect operations, it affects valuation. And that brings us to the bigger picture. When valuations rely on perfection, what happens when experts start whispering the word bubble?
Voices of caution, the bubble talk. Even industry heavyweights are sounding alarms. Jeff Bezos calls this AI frenzy an industrial bubble. Real technology, inflated expectations. Economist Ed Yardeni says AI stocks show many of the hallmarks of an inflating bubble: huge capital inflows, superstar CEOs, and sky-high multiples. Hedge fund Elliott Management bluntly describes Nvidia's valuation as bubble land, warning that if corporate spending on AI infrastructure cools, these stocks could correct sharply. And we've seen this movie before. In 2000, Cisco Systems traded at 31 times sales before dropping nearly 90%. The company survived, the valuation didn't. History doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. So instead of predicting the future, maybe the smarter move is to look at what we can control, how we invest, and how much risk we take. Takeaways for everyday investors. Here's what all of this means for the rest of us. 1.
Price matters. Paying 30 times sales means you've already priced in years of perfect growth. 2. Dependencies matter. A few customers and one supplier make for a fragile setup. 3. Timing matters. Even a small delay can shift billions in valuation. 4. History matters. Every bubble feels different until it doesn't. If you believe in AI's long-term story, great. Just size your bet wisely, diversify, and remember, you're investing in execution, not hype. And at the end of the day, investing is less about predicting bubbles and more about knowing when you're already standing inside one.
This video is for education and not financial advice. Always do your own research and understand the assumptions behind every story you buy into. Because in investing, what you don't know isn't harmless. It's expensive.